The worst truants in London.
When you used to skip school, what sort of things did you used to get up to?
We used to do shoplifting. Shoplifting.
The most violent school in London.
So she pushes her luck, and that's when I have to sort her out.
And the school that can't keep the kids in. Turmoil in the Classroom. That's the London programme, Friday at 10:30.
Now, Nicky Campbell and Andrew Neil introduce Thursday Night Live.
When Tracy got 28 days in Holloway, her baby got a month without a mum. Should less women be locked up?
Good evening and welcome to Thursday Night Live. A 12-foot high picture of Moor's murderer Myra Hindley, made entirely from the palm prints of a little girl, may be called many things. But would art be one of them? Should there be more to art than simply shocking people? That's later.
But we begin with women in jail. This week, prison reformers claimed there were too many women behind bars, serving time for too many trivial offences. Single mums often, with children they must abandon while they endure the overcrowded horrors of Holloway. But shouldn't they have thought of that before they broke the law? Louise, you were released from Holloway last year. How long were you actually in there for?
I served 4.5 months.
4.5 months. And what were the conditions like?
Oh, it was awful. The actual condition of the prison was like a derelict building. The floors was like, you know, like an uneven pavement that we walk on every day. The beds were like iron army beds. The blankets were full of mites, full of bed bugs. The food was absolutely disgusting. One day I found a dead cockroach in my food and was expected to eat it or go without. It was just absolutely appalling.
Did you find that your needs as a woman were catered for?
No, I don't. One evening, I had a period and I leaked. I basically asked if I could have a bath. I was told no, and I had to wait 36 hours to have a bath.
And what were you in for?
I was in for fraud.
Checkbook fraud?
Yeah.
Anne Widdecombe, this isn't rehabilitation. This is utterly degrading someone.
Certainly there was a period during which Holloway was not what we would have expected from any of our prisons, male or female. But that was recognised, and a second inspection report which went in after we had put in hand fairly major reforms in Holloway actually said that there were vast improvements. I don't uphold any prison which doesn't have an orderly, constructive, demanding day and decent living conditions.
Many women, people are saying this week that many women shouldn't be there because, for example, 2/3 of the women in prison actually have children. Do you think that women who commit a crime should in any way be treated differently from men?
No. The simple answer to that is no. I think it's a matter for the courts to decide what is the appropriate penalty and to take into account any circumstances that the court wishes to take into account. But as far as I'm concerned, if a woman commits a crime, then she must be treated on exactly the same basis as a man.
Whatever extenuating circumstances.
That's for the courts to decide if there are extenuating circumstances. Some men have extenuating circumstances. That's for the court to decide.
Julie Bindle, her point, a crime is a crime.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and of course I agree with Anne when she says that women should be treated in the same way as men when they commit a crime. What I'd like to ask then is why aren't they? For example, 35% of women prisoners are first offenders, compared to 12% of men. More women are sent to prison for petty crime, for first offences, than men, in fact 3 times as many. And also, if you look at the fact that...
So hang on, there's an inbuilt prejudice against women in the judicial system?
Totally inbuilt.
Why is that?
Because women are discriminated against in society. It's not going to be any different in the courts, in the prison system. That's one area where discrimination is played out, and it's played out to the detriment of many women and their children. 80% of women who go to prison are on benefits or on state benefits, often who steal to feed and clothe their children, because during Anne Widdecombe's government...
Tony Tompkins first. Answer that point.
Here we go now, excusing criminals. At the end of the day, if they steal, they are criminals. If they're criminals, they deserve to be sentenced and receive whatever the sentence is. And with the greatest respect, to say that because they look after children or because they're on benefits is a reason why they shouldn't go to prison, frankly, is a nonsense.
Anne Widdecombe back in, and I'll come to you straight away, Julie.
I think it's a very serious point here. I actually think it's a gross insult to those who are struggling, on benefit or in difficult circumstances, to say that they are uniquely the criminal classes. That is simply not true. Plenty of people manage, plenty of people do it without committing crime. If somebody commits a crime, the responsibility for that is on that person.
And also, Julie Bindel, if I can just come back to Julie and just put this point to you as well. A man steals, he gets sent to prison. A woman commits the same crime, she gets community service. How can that be fair?
Well, no, actually, that isn't the case. That a man steals, he's sent to prison in that sense, because far fewer men who commit first offence, when they're in court for a first offence, get sent to prison than women, which was the point I was making earlier. The point I made about 80% of women in prison who had been on state benefit and who had stolen, often to feed themselves and their children, and then who had their children taken away from them, and then were stigmatised by prison, came out and had no opportunities, thanks to the previous government. No job opportunity, no way of getting themselves out of that poverty trap.
A point well made, Tony Tompkins. I want to bring Anne Widdecombe first, because you were tutting at her point.
Yes, I certainly was tutting. I mean, the simple facts are these: that for the last years on which figures are available, something like 11,000 community sentence orders were made for women convicted, as against, at that time, 2,000 going to prison. So the overwhelming majority, in fact, do not go to prison. They get community orders. So the idea that somehow we underuse those for women is, I think, absolutely untenable. And nor will I accept this business of stealing to feed children. There are many people in difficult circumstances who do not steal to feed children. Let's not talk about it as an imperative, it's a choice.
Thanks for that point. And Julie Bindel, many people watching now will take great offence at that, who are hard up, living in difficult circumstances and don't make the moral choice to commit a...
No, it's terrible when women are actually trapped, well, when anybody's trapped in poverty, having to raise children, having to feed themselves with no opportunities, no job opportunities, and in fact that they get involved in this spiral, which is that they may commit a crime. It's a first offence, it may be a petty offence, rather than rehabilitating that person, giving that person further opportunity to live as a decent citizen, which I'm sure we would all want to see. They then are
So you're talking about compassion,
by
a certain amount of compassion and imagination in sentencing is needed here.
Absolutely, and I would like to ask why more women are sent to prison for first offences than men. You can't say that that's not unfair, you can't say that's not discriminatory.
It was certainly your experience, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I was 16 and I was up in court with 16 other people, and out of the 16, 2 of us went to jail. Them 2 was me and another lady. Other than that, they all got out that day. Us 2, I was first-time offender, 16. I should never have gone to jail.
Anne Widdecombe, everybody, that's a point well made. Now we'll come back to you. Anne Widdecombe, isn't it the case maybe that in our society, as was pointed out by Julie there, and also in the system, we are prejudiced against women because we don't believe that women should be in prison, and so we punish them more harshly. At the other end of the criminal spectrum, murderesses always achieve a unique notoriety, don't they?
Oh, I think there are plenty of men who achieve notoriety, and in fact there are some murderesses who don't actually attract very much attention at all. So I don't think you can make those sweeping generalisations. As far as I'm concerned, the system is this: somebody commits a crime, is brought to the court, acting on its guidelines, its information and the law as it presently stands, distributes the penalty, and it is then the business of the prison service or the probation service to react to that penalty.
Let's go back to Susan. We'll find out a little bit more about you, and I'll come to you in just a second. So you were 6... How long were you in Holloway for?
I got 6 months.
You got 6 months?
I spent some time there and some time in East Sutton Park in Kent. And you cannot tell me they were not discriminating. They made an example of me because I was female.
But just answer the question.
All right, let's find out more about that. You've made that point. Let's find out about your time in Holloway. What were the conditions like?
It is a flea pit. It is so dirty. You wouldn't even believe how dirty the place is. No one cleans, no one does nothing. I agree, the food, rubbish. You wouldn't feed it to your dog. You wouldn't. I'm not saying people don't deserve to be punished for the naughty things that they do, but at the same time, you've got to treat people...
Tony Tompkins, this is like something out of Charles Dickens, isn't it?
This lady here will not say what she's done.
We'll
from
ask
my
her in a minute.
experience,
We'll ask
and we've
her in a
asked her
minute.
twice.
No, I'll ask her again.
Right, from my experience, for women offenders to go to prison on a first offence, it must be a pretty serious offence.
Just address the Dickensian conditions, the appalling food, the appalling circumstances.
Well, I think I've already addressed that.
Well, I'm asking Tony Tompkins.
Well, I'm
to do
sorry.
that.
I've been to Holloway, and I don't for any minute think it's a holiday camp, nor do I think it should be a holiday camp. I think the conditions are reasonably decent. At the end of the day, people go to prison not just for rehabilitation. There is a deterrent. And there is retribution. And the deterrent has to be there for society. Otherwise, what are we saying? All women can commit what crimes they want?
Let Susan answer, yeah.
What rehabilitation? What are you talking about? That doesn't rehabilitate you, does it?
But it might deter, and it might...
Hang on, so why is it that prison actually has a higher success rate in preventing reoffending than at the moment the probation service?
Well, why is it that when I was moving in the criminal circle, that everybody I know kept going back and back and back? Nobody came out and stayed out. They got out, they went back.
Well,
perhaps
they
then
got
the
out
reason-
because you do not uphold what you've said.
Tony Tompkins, briefly.
Perhaps the reason then is we don't make prison sentences harsh enough. Perhaps we should make the sentences more austere. Perhaps that would have a
Let's
greater
find out.
effect.
Okay, Susan, what did you do?
Right, I stole cars and I defrauded the government. I used to do social books and checkbooks and things like that.
And you stole handbags?
Yeah.
So why, just one question. Why... Well, he calls it mugging. That's a word for it.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you deny that title or not.
Yeah. I was 16, I was naive, I was in with the wrong people. I've turned out to be a decent person, but not because of what they put me in jail. Not because of that at all.
You went through Susan.
I made a decision not to go back to jail. I made the decision not to go out and do anything wrong again.
OK, let's go back in time. There you were, 16 years old. And
my
you
own,
had
no
on your
family.
own, no family, no friends, having a horrible time in Holloway. And it's not meant to be the Hilton, a point made by
The
Tony
Hilton,
Tompkins.
it
OK,
ain't.
right. So you were mugging people. Why should we extend any more sympathy to you than you did to the people that you mugged?
Because, Nicky, what I needed was guidance. At that time, I needed help, I needed guidance, I needed someone to show me the right way. I was in care, and, you know, you can't just throw people in prison and think that's the end of the story, that's going to be the end of it. It doesn't work like that.
I agree with that.
It doesn't work like that.
Donald Blenny wants to come in here, chair of the National Association of Conservative Graduates. On you go, sir.
I'm just a bit concerned that, as always, it seems to be society's fault that you find yourself in this terrible position.
I'm not blaming
and that
society.
it's massive discrimination against women. It's always someone else's fault.
So
rather
you
than
tell
your
me
own,
why there were
as
16
making
of
a
us in
choice.
court and the 2 girls went to jail.
Were you all up for mugging,
the
for
14,
defrauding
yes,
old
we all
women?
done the exact
all
same
of you have done
crimes.
exactly the
We all
same
done the
thing.
exact same crimes. In fact, the men probably done more than me. There was time when I sat at home and they went out doing God knows whatever.
But you
Why
still
is
did it. You still did it.
Yeah, and
you
I
made a
hold my
choice
hands
to do
up
it.
to that whole. I made the choice, like I made the choice to stop. But at the time, when the judge sent me to jail, jail was not what I needed.
What did you need?
I needed help, I needed guidance.
Community service?
Yeah, with even a bit of help thrown in to put me on the right path, show me right from wrong. And at 16, you're a child. At 16, you are a child. You are not a grown-up.
Tony Tompkins. OK, let's have Tony Tompkins. Tell us a gentleman in the audience. Tony, on you go.
Yeah, having their
Hang on.
handbags snatched. Perhaps they're traumatised to this day. Do you ever think about the victims?
Yes, I do.
Oh, do you? Well, I'm
Actually,
delighted
yes,
you do.
I do. Why do you think I've stopped doing what I've done?
Well,
But at
perhaps
16,
because Holloway was so
at
awful.
16
Perhaps
no,
prison
it
was such a
wasn't because-
deterrent. You've said
It is
yourself it was so
horrible.
awful.
It is horrible.
And perhaps you don't want to go
It
back
is
there.
horrible.
That's the whole point of prison.
The point I don't want to go back.
Exactly.
If it's got nothing...
Julie Bendel.
If it's got nothing to do with society, as this gentleman here said, if committing offences, criminal offences, has nothing to do with society, why then have our female prisons swelled to capacity in the last few years under the previous government?
Because females
Why?
are more active in the criminal...
That's not true.
It
If you
is.
look at your
It's
criminology...
true.
No,
Sorry.
no, that's
And
absolutely
please don't blame the
not
last
true.
government. Again, it is a matter of choice. to
Louise,
commit crimes.
If people have jobs and choices, they commit less crime.
Julie made the choice to commit a crime and she just put her hand up. What would you like to say?
Yeah.
Louise, sorry.
Yeah. I'd like to say, we was talking about the rehabilitation system in prison. I can tell you now, all I learnt from prison was how to become a better criminal. I learnt how to rob cars. I learnt how to steal the people.
All right, Anne Whittaker, come on to that point.
Yes, I will. I mean, the quite inevitable conclusion of all that is that you never put anybody in prison just in case they learn a bad way from somebody. What we actually have to do is to make sure, as I said right at the beginning, that prisons are constructive and orderly and demanding places. And what has actually happened over the last few years, particularly the last 4 or 5 years, has been an enormous increase in purposeful activity in prisons, an enormous concentration on those things which actually help to change people and to give them a chance. Now, I actually think that the fact that we put such emphasis on that, even at a time when we had a rising population and a falling budget, actually shows how committed we were.
Can I just take a phrase of yours there, giving people a chance?
Yeah.
Now, do you not draw any distinction between a woman, to get back to this point, which is an interesting one, a woman who steals out of desperation to feed her kids, and a man who steals for kicks?
It could be a man or a woman stealing for kicks. Children, yeah. A man or a woman stealing because he or she believes, and I don't concede the point, that it is necessary in order to feed children. So it can be a man or a woman. It is for the court to decide what the extenuating circumstances are. You should not have a blanket policy which says that any woman with a child must necessarily escape the consequences of her crime.
Let's talk to a judge and also a prison inspector. You studied this widely and long and in great detail. Judge Stephen Tuman, have you ever given a custodial sentence to a woman who has committed what might be termed a petty crime?
No, I haven't.
Even something like a bit of mugging?
I've never, in fact, sent a woman with small children to prison. I've been lucky and I haven't had to try a case which required it, but you can avoid it in most cases. What is clear is the prejudice, I think, against women in prison. It seems to me to be brought out sitting here listening to Mr. I think Tompkin, who's been bullying every woman he hears, and who... I don't know who he is or where he comes from, but he's pulling faces and shouting at in his every woman in this audience who speaks.
So briefly, argue the case for us now, and do it briefly, that women should be treated differently from men.
Of course they should be treated differently from men. Firstly, about 70% of women currently in custody have got children under 16. And the children are being sentenced as much as the women. And
so shouldn't the women think of that before they commit the crime, Judge?
I don't know if you have children, I don't know who you are, but Miss Widdicombe does.
Hang on, that's a point to take very, very quickly. And there's just 2 hands I'll take just before we do go to the break, which is just a second. Yeah, it's a double sentence. It's a sentence for the woman, it's a sentence for the child as well, possibly creating criminals of the future, again, Tony Tompkins.
The mother is responsible, and if she makes the choice to commit the crime, forget that. She makes the choice. That's a simple case.
Marcia, very quickly, I want to speak to you after the break, but very quickly now.
OK, if you're going to speak
to me. No, do it now if you want to do it quickly. I'll let you.
OK, I'm just saying that I was actually working and I was put to jail for doing my job. I chose to work in
the story was you were a kind of you were a bouncer, you were on security. Let's find out your story after the break. Right. Very quickly, gentlemen in the audience there, you've had your hand up all the way through.
Prisons need to be decent but austere, and I've got a lot of time for Anne Widdicombe because she's actually the only person who's bothered to go around every single prison in this country and find out what the conditions are herself.
And the lady down here, just very quickly.
Yeah, can I just actually say...
Listen to this lady's point, very quickly.
A lot of the women are actually saying they're doing it, they're stealing for their children and everything. But I think they should think about their children before they actually commit the crime. And if they're that concerned about their children going into care, then that should be a deterrent.
A good point, well made. They shouldn't commit the crime in the first place. That's what you're saying.
If you can't do the time, then don't commit the crime.
You say it's a moral choice. After the break, we'll be back, and Marcia will find out your story as well then. We meet the man whose girlfriend went into jail as a decent, middle-class girl. He now says Holloway's turning her into a hardened criminal. That's next. Welcome back. Right, Wayne, your girlfriend Joanne she's in Holloway at the moment. She was sent there for giving her friend a knee tablet for her birthday.
Yeah, she asked for it.
Sorry?
She asked for it as a birthday present, so my girlfriend got it for her.
Well, that's not necessarily an excuse in the law, as you well
It's
know.
not an excuse in the law.
But that's what you say here. Have you been to Holloway to see her?
I've been once, yeah, once in a month.
Right,
I'll go to see her on Monday again.
How has it affected her?
She's devastated. She can't believe it's all happening to her. At the moment, she's on 4 antidepressants a day and a mood-stabilising drug because she can't handle what's happening to her in prison.
What is it about the prison that she can't handle?
I think it's just being locked up. I think it's... well, she gets locked up and then she gets let out for breakfast, then she gets locked up again, then she gets activities, and then she gets locked up again, and then she gets locked up after lunch, locked up after tea.
And is there anything else about her that's changed? The way she talks, the way she thinks?
Yeah, her attitude, she's starting to hate people for some reason. She was never like that. She was a nice, bubbly girl before she went in, before all this happened.
Peter Coates, if I can talk to you, former senior probation officer. Now, I mean, 1E to a friend on her 21st birthday. This is hardly Pablo Escobar, international drug baron, isn't it?
It took 1 ecstasy tablet to kill Leah Betts. It is trading in death. That's what that crime is. I'm very sorry if going to prison has disturbed that young lady's personality, and maybe she needs medical advice. But I'd like to also mention here to that lady that it was a very wise judge who sent her to prison for a first offence, because she is a rehabilitated person. And
not because prison rehabilitated
If I may finish...
Yeah, go on. Let him finish, then I'll give you a chance to answer.
If I may finish, if children are brought up by women who believe that they have a licence to offend because they're women, it is surely to heaven that those children will grow up to be criminals as well. So it is a disservice to society to treat women differently from men.
Julie Bindel?
There's absolutely no evidence to substantiate what you are doing, what you're saying about the children of women who are criminals growing up to be criminals. That's absolutely...
Are there any circumstances in which you'd put, apart from obviously very, very serious crimes like